But Jim, let's get another question here. This one, sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Adam K. in Delaware. When the Heavenly Bodies came to the WWF in 1993, they were given Jim Neidhart's recycled theme, complete with the anvil clanking sound effect. What did you think of that decision, and did you ever suggest an alternative theme?
I had no idea that it had been Neidhart's. I hadn't paid a lick of attention. I wasn't watching the programming regularly before we started there. And, it was the same deal. We're coming up visiting. We're making TV tapings and pay-per-views. And I didn't expect them to write a brand new piece of music just for the Heavenly Bodies, and we didn't pay attention to it because I was paying more attention trying to get the goddamn wings off their jackets after a while. But no, I mean, they recycled music up there all the time because they had the rights to it. And Vince had gotten too big to be able to play commercial music. We knew that. That's why in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, we were using Edgar Winter. And we were playing the shit out of every fucking song I ever liked because nobody noticed, nobody gave a shit. But when you went to the WWF, you had to use the shit they had written for whoever the fuck that they weren't using anymore. They couldn't write something new for 500 guys a year. So it didn't. And also, it wasn't like we went in to work with the Steiners for the tag team title, and that was fine. I'd rather be in the title picture on the pay-per-view SummerSlam than worry about my music. But then after that, when it was obvious that they weren't really going to run with the bodies, we're not going to fucking bitch about the music.
What makes good tag team entrance music?
Well, I don't know about tag team entrance music versus single or anything like that. I always loved putting commercial music that people knew, hits from artists they knew that created a certain mood with a guy whose gimmick and character and presentation or whatever fit that particular song or theme or mood that was being created. And, that's why that, the territories of Memphis started really the whole music revolution. It was here and there, but Memphis went crazy with it and it spread. But it really, it wound the people up. It got them excited. And we've talked about this before. There were certain guys like Jimmy Valiant when he did Son of a Gypsy. That was better than anything that he could have played to come out to. He did Boy from New York City and all that stuff. But no, Son of a Gypsy was perfect. But most guys couldn't do their own music. So they needed something. And when the Fabulous Ones' original song was Billy Squier, Everybody Wants You. And it's the fucking, the lament of the rock star on the road and the life. And he's looking in the mirror and a blah, blah, blah. That fucking fit perfectly. I don't know about You Dropped a Bomb on Me. For a while there, they were just using whatever was number one that week. They would use that for the Fabs. But
that's a killer song. That's a good song.
Well, yeah, but not for the fucking Fabulous Ones. It just didn't seem, but I continued that in OVW, even though the generation of music was not one that I was expert in. Stace was there to give me a little update on some of the music so we could use shit that matched the guys' presentation and their attitude, the way they came out. And that's what I always looked for in any territory when they were using commercial music was, does this create the same fucking vibe you want to get off this guy? And in various different ways with completely different music and different people. You had some that were great and some that were blah. Since they've all been written custom for, the talent in the WWE, the Austin glass breaking is iconic. Kurt Angle's got over. You can hear The Rock coming a mile away now or Cena, but a lot of it to me is just generic blah, blah.
The Midnight Express have maybe the most or one of the most memorable theme songs of any tag team ever with Chase from the soundtrack to Midnight Express. When you put the Heavenly Bodies together, when did you decide on Frankenstein, which was their theme, which was perfect, And they used that in Smoky Mountain, obviously not in WWE.
Right. Well, because it was, again, the Heavenly Bodies were kind of the next generation Midnight Express, and I wanted an instrumental but I didn't want to do the same thing, but it was kind of, just taking off on that. The Midnight Express had an instrumental that honestly, not a lot of people knew what the fuck it was unless they'd seen the movie. It wasn't a hit song. There was a disco single. With Frankenstein, that had been more of a hit than Chase was off the Midnight Express soundtrack. But that album at that time, They Only Come Out at Night, was from 1972. So it was 20 years old at that point, and a lot of people may have heard it, but they didn't know what the fuck it was. I didn't want, here they come playing their hit song. I wanted the mood, the vibe, the whatever of the music. So it was kind of like the Midnight Express, but different, just like the Heavenly Bodies were, kind of like the Midnight Express, but different.
Jim, it would be probably difficult to access some of the footage of the Heavenly Bodies with the original music, or the Midnight Express with their original music, because WWE changes things, edits things. And of course, now even fans all around the world have to wonder how they're going to get their WWE because of the deal with Netflix and what's the future of Peacock, WWE Network shutting down overseas. It's probably a good time to check out ExpressVPN.
Well, because you're going to have to hide. You're going to have to hide if you want to do the work that you're going to have to put in to get the classic wrestling content. Because they're not just going to give it to you if you're up front and you tell them who you are, because they're going to want to jack you around for all this extra money. You got to get a subscription to this and a license for that. Well, I'll tell you what, right now, they've even got an incognito mode. Did you hear about this on your websites or on your VPNs or your personal fucking, what is it? The personal IP address is what I'm searching for.
Is that what you're searching for? I've heard of incognito.
Yes, they've got an incognito mode. They tell you, well, you can be incognito when you do this mode, but it's not. It's only partially cognitoed because Google runs everything. They run the browsers and they run the incognito mode, so they still know what you're doing online. There's right now even a $5 billion class action lawsuit against Google in California where it's accused of secretly collecting user data. You know what? With $5 billion, you could buy the rights to Raw for 10 years. And Google says incognito does not mean invisible. So what the fuck good is it then? If you can't make your cogs unable to be seen by the average person, then it's no good, right? You're supposed to agree with me.
I don't know how much I can agree with you because I'm not exactly sure.
You've got to make sure
that
people can't see your cogs. God, that's why you're hiding them, because the cogs tell your whole story of what you're into.
Well, what we want to talk about is the cognitive ability of the audience to observe professional wrestling all around the world.
No. See, your online activity is getting tracked. And data brokers get to buy and sell your data. And those data brokers, they're just like stockbrokers. They're just out for $1. So they'll take all your data and they'll sell it. And then what do you got no data. You don't know shit. You can't even remember who you are. And they've got data harvesters that will use your IP to uniquely identify you and your location. It says that right here. Data harvesters. They're going to come over with a thrashing machine and a combine and some hose, and they're going to harvest everything and leave you sitting on an empty lot.
There's going to be no hose and no combine. It's a digital harvesting, a virtual harvesting of your real information.
Well, I don't know if you want to be digitally harvested any more than you want to be personally harvested.
That's not what I meant. Again, we're talking about ExpressVPN, which is a wonderful service that can help the listeners.
Well, yes, they're going to keep you from getting harvested and put into a bale of hay or threshed into alfalfa. Well, with ExpressVPN, your connection gets rerouted through an encrypted server and your IP address is masked. Just call your IP address Mr. California or Mr. Connecticut. He's going to be wearing a mask and nobody's going to know who it is underneath that mask. And every time you connect to ExpressVPN, you're going to get a random IP address shared by many other customers. So nobody's going to know what the fuck's going on in that group. And boy, I'll tell you what, the one guy whose random address they give out, he's fucked. He gets no peace and quiet every day and every night. They just send out one guy's random IP address. So don't be that guy.
No one's doing this. No one has to fear this happening again.
Well, the chances are minute because there's so many people involved in this and they're just sending the one address out. So just don't be that guy. You'll never sleep.
What you can be is that guy who can access the shows and the websites all around the world that you may not be able to access normally because of where you live.
Yes.
Get around that geolocation with ExpressVPN.
And don't have these big companies keeping track of what you're doing in the privacy of your own home at late wee hours of the morning on your computer, and they have it all written down and they can sell it to your wife and she'll pay for it because it's really coming out of your pocket, because after the divorce settlement, she's going to have all your fucking money. So it's better to get 3 months for free from ExpressVPN and really go incognito and nobody's going to know what the fuck you're up to. That's expressvpn.com/JCE. That's the code there, the /JCE. You can get 3 extra months for free. Your cogs will be hidden, your neatos will be protected, and your wife won't be able to divorce you with any knowledge that she gains by calling the people at Google and asking them what you're looking at when you tell her that you're taking a nap in the office. expressvpn.com/JCE, 3 months for free. Imagine how much a divorce costs.
ExpressVPN, just focus on the positive. ExpressVPN.
Yes. Eliminate the negative and don't mess around with Mr. In-Between.